So what's up, y'all? Welcome to Dot Connect Wednesdays. You know how we do. I'm gonna be your host for this evening. My name is Big Champ. um, so check this out. What we're gonna be talking about today is the bad side of crypto and the social credit system and a cashless society. So Pravir is gonna jump on the call at some point today. I'm expecting him to jump on. Him and Steve previously had a conversation, and I believe India is one of the places that deals with a cashless society, right? So let me share my screen with you guys. I'm gonna run you guys through a couple articles because I'm going through this intel as I disseminated the share my screen. All right, can you guys see my screen right now?
Yeah.
All right, cool. And there go my guy Pravir. All right, so I ran across this article, right? We discussed this. Well, we really didn't discuss it. We just kind of dropped it in the chat. It was talking about in Canada, how Canada's system went down, right? Their main system kind of went offline, and nobody was able to access their capital, right? And all of the point of sale kiosk, so like their debit, credit, all of that good stuff was all offline, right? And it's not the first time that this has happened. Canada. So this is my Twitter, right? I'm just pulling this article up. Says all debit and credit machines in Canada have gone offline amid nationwide Rogers network outage. So Rogers network, I guess, is the main networking system in the country of Canada. And when it went offline, this was on the 8th. When it went offline, nobody was able to make purchases, right? So I say that to say this: what happens when that happens here in the United States, right? What's stopping anything like this from ever occurring? Right now, we're on a system that's called SWIFT, right? SWIFT handles all the transaction volume for the United States and globally. It's like the banking system. So what happens when we have a power outage or a major grid or energy grid or something like that is affected? What happens? Right? Everybody is going to scramble because one, nobody assumes at 2022 that we would have a primitive problem like this. But when you're transitioning into what's known as just a new global system where everything is digital, there's always going to be growing pains, no matter what. So, what is a cashless society, right? A cashless society is a society where all physical money, cash, checks, and coins is completely and totally replaced by digital currency. That includes replacing debit and credit cards, right? So now that all of you guys are here, you guys are a cryptocurrency group, right? You guys partake in other things, but we're known for crypto. We're teaching you guys now how to utilize cryptocurrency, how to understand, how to research, how to analyze the projects, the protocols, right? How its daily implementation will be utilized in the real world, right? We tell you guys over and over, you must get into digital currencies that have real world value, right? Real world use case. Because think about it. If the world has presented you with a brand new asset class, and this asset class is emerging faster than the internet did, right? Probably 10 times, I think it was like 10 or 15 times the speed that the internet did. Imagine how we're going to look by 2025, right? That's literally right around the corner. Then think about it. How is the world going to be around 2030, 2035, 2050, right? This is all within our lifespan. So we're starting at the opening curve, right? This is an emerging nascent market. whenever it grows and gets to maturation and we get mass adoption, now you're going to have almost the entire world on this system where everybody can transact cryptocurrency, right? Everything is going to be digital. So this is why now you guys are in a prime place, because now not only is the market in its infancy stage, there's going to be so many innovations, so many advancements that happen that's going to push you away from the standard means of exchange, which is fiat currency, right? Imagine we've had instances already where they've got rid of coins, right? And they said there was a coin shortage. I was just getting back from Afghanistan, so this had to be early 2021. I remember going to the store and they were like, "There's a coin shortage." So I'm like, "Huh?" Me understanding how money works, I'm thinking to myself, like, this is insane. What do you mean there's no, there's a lack of change? So people are constantly swiping with their debit, but this is normal, right? And I've kind of been removed, right? So I'm probably not the best person to kind of gauge this, but going into the department stores, going into grocery stores, you're seeing everybody swiping their cards, right? Not many people use cash. If you, matter of fact, it's 13 of y'all, it's 13 of us on the call. Do me a favor, inside the chat right now, I want you guys to let me know how, if you're a cash person, put 1, right? If you're a person who always has cash on you, you always pay with cash, you always transact with cash. Or if you're a debit card or a credit card person, put a 2. And that's most of us. That's the thing. So it's odd now to see these type of instances that will continue to occur, right? Canada, it's not far away. Like, it's literally on our border. So they just said, they were just talking about the mining situation here in the United States, right? There's a power grid. Sonia said 2, but I keep cash. Sonia, that is super, super smart. Sonia and Rod, that's the method, right? That's the mindset. So that's where I was going next. What I want you guys to understand is, even in times where we always have our debit cards, you are always supposed to have some sort of cash, some type of fiat, right, on hand, so that you can transact. Imagine you were a Canadian resident, right, and you were going out and you're trying to purchase something. You can't buy nothing. The point of sales are down. All your debit cards, nobody's debit cards are working, right? So imagine that. That's crazy to me, right? But it can easily happen here. And then you have what's known as bank runs, right? Bank runs. Somebody mute up, please. So what I'm hearing is every so often, right, we'll get what's known as a bank run. These bank runs that happen are not just for banks, right? These bank runs are happening even in crypto. We just saw them with third-party lenders, right? We just saw them with Celsius and 3AC and Lido and just all of these Coinbase, or all of these places where you could stake in and you were just getting on lending platforms to try to collateralize your digital assets. These guys were getting slammed in liquidations, or they were cutting off basically withdrawals and trading options because they ran out of capital, right? This happens when there's fear in the market and people are a bank run. Just for anybody who doesn't know, right? I don't know if we ever actually formally went over this, but a bank run just happens basically when everybody is going at the same time based on market conditions. They're going to whatever these lending platforms are, or financial institutions, whatever. They go and they say, listen, it's fear in the market. I need cash. I need my money. Let me cash out, right? So you instantly go and you're going to sell. So as you're going to sell, this is now becoming a trend, right? Everyone is not just you, and it's not just you doing this at one time. Everybody is coming on at one time and they're trying to sell, right? When everybody is trying to pull their liquidity from banks or financial institutions, this is what's known as a bank run, right? So one way that they try to safeguard themselves from, just basically being illiquid 100% or going bankrupt is they halt any kind of activity, no trading, no deposits, no nothing, right? When they do this, right, it's basically just a little barrier that they put up. But 90% of the time, you don't have the funds, right? You're illiquid at that point, right? You're just trying to buy time. So what these companies was doing was they were going to get loans from other places that had liquidity, right? Your JP Morgans and your HSBCs or wherever they were going to get loans, or even other platforms. These guys were investing in digital assets just like you and I, right? So the way that they were staying afloat, being liquid, is because one, they're charging you fees for your transactions. Two, on top of them charging fees for your transactions, they're taking your cryptocurrency that you deposit, right? They're promising you one thing, but these guys are also investing in high risk and volatile assets, right? Or digital currencies or cryptocurrencies. And they're taking loans out, right? So they're taking your collateral, putting it on another platform, right? Taking a loan out so they aren't taxed, basically making your money work for them. They'll give you scraps, right? Which is why in the traditional banking system, you're getting 1% on a high interest yield savings account or something like that, right? It's not even 2-3% no more, right? You may not even be getting 1%. It's been a while since I last checked, but you weren't even getting 1% at one point. So think about that. These guys were telling you, hey, we can give you 18% for staking USDC, right? 20% for staking HBAR. But then they would take your cryptocurrency, get a loan for it. It's supporting their platform and they're making tons of money on your assets, right? So they're not even using their funds. But when the market dips, how it's been doing, right? And you lose a lot of liquidity that's in the market, people are taking their money out. The value of coin, the price of coins are dropping, not the value, the price. The prices are dropping. Then your exchanges, they're shaky. They're standing on shaky ground. So now what do they have to do? They have to buy time, right? They have to figure out another way to source funds. That's what happens during a bank run. And this just happened, China, right? This just happened maybe 3-4 days ago. There's a video I had posted on my Twitter. It's kind of crazy. There's looks like hundreds of people standing outside the Bank of China. I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right, but Housing or something like that is the town. And this is the main Bank of China. There was people standing outside because they're revolting, right? Everybody's going crazy because no one can access their money. The bank itself was a broad day, right? It was broad day. They had police escort the workers into the bank, and the people were throwing, any and everything at them, right? And they just ran. Listen, we want our money. We want our money. Well, what is, I keep posing the same question because I really want to know what happens when this happens in the United States, right? These guys are able to stop your withdrawals and your money, and this is fiat. Now think about this. This is why we're here today, the bad side of crypto. We go to a cashless society, right? Where there's no cash on hand. Not to say that cash doesn't exist, but when there's no cash on hand, technically this is a cashless society, right? The money does not exist. It's totally replaced by digital currency. Now, what happens when your banks become your exchanges, right? So now you're buying your digital currencies from the banks, from these financial institutions. What happens at that point, right? They have full control still. They're still controlling your money. So there's a gift and a curse with that. There's a silver lining. What's so crazy is there's an executive order that has been written by the Biden administration, just wrote it. And I don't know if it's formally been released yet. I have to do some more research, but they just put out an EO, and on the executive order, somebody mute up. I know I had the power to do it, but I'm sharing my screen right now. Thank you. So I lost my train of thought. So the executive order, right? The executive order, I don't know if it was officially and formally released yet, but basically it's pushing and gearing towards a cashless society, right? I told you guys previously that there was another executive order during Obama's administration where they were saying every single, and this was part of the Federal Reserve and the Treasury, right? Were part of this executive order. They were saying every United States citizen is going to have a digital wallet, right? So whether you're prepared for it or not, the world is already transitioning, right? Rules and regulations are already being set in place for you to move away from fiat currency, right? I don't really truly understand if there's going to be no cash at all, but at some point it's going to happen, right? Because the reason they're moving away from it, one, is they have less control, they have less transparency and visibility of your transactions, right? The whole thing is about power and control, wanting to know, your on ramps, your off ramps, where you're spending your money, right? This is how you can stop money laundering, right? Illicit transactions. This has already been happening. We knew, I don't know if you guys knew about Silk Road, right? Silk Road days, these guys were using the dark web and using cryptocurrencies and digital assets, Bitcoin and Ethereum, to transact. And these guys were buying body parts. They were trafficking children. These guys were buying weapons, drugs, any and everything that you could think of, right? And you can see the transactions on a blockchain, right? So you don't know what they were purchasing, right? Because back then you have to realize this was really, really new technology. And they're able to see the transactions, right, between two parties, but you don't actually know what the transaction was. In the data field, you can put that you were purchasing, like I showed you guys my VeChain transaction, right? I didn't put a note in, but I can actually put a note in that says, okay, sending money from KuCoin to my Nexo address or KuCoin to Coinbase, right? I can write that so that anybody who goes onto the block and clicks on my transaction ID, they can see this, right? In those days, even if people were doing it, who would actually write, I'm, transacting to purchase a little boy or a little girl or a body part, or, organ, a kidney, right? Buying things on the black market. You're not going to write that, right? So nobody would truly know what your transaction was, but they could still have visibility. Hey, these two wallets transacted. This was $1 million, right? And nowadays you can kind of see all these major exchanges are able to work with the governments. This is why you're being presented with KYC, right? Know your customer, because now they're going to be able to tie your identity to a address, right? And they can get this information from the exchange itself. But what happens if exchanges go away and the banks are the new exchanges, right? We told you this was very, very plausible, right? This is almost in the works, right? I can't say 100%, but I would probably say about 98% already in the works. So imagine your bank that you have history with. They have your driver's license when you set up your account. They have, your transaction history. They know your address, all of that good stuff. Now they have all your info. So now they can easily tie your address to you, the person. So now anytime that there's something going on, what's to say that the bank can't just say, all right, this person is back, he hasn't paid taxes in a year, 2 years, whatever, right? Cut off his functionality. That's crazy, right? Imagine your bank not being able to service you with your own money. Insane. So this is one of the pitfalls to a cashless society, right? The relinquishing of control, right? That's essentially what they want. And then you have the World Economic Forum, which is the elites of all elites, right? These are the guys where banks source all liquidity from, right? If there's ever a country that's going bankrupt or they don't have funds to sustain, right, economically, they go to the World Economic Forum. The World Economic Forum will issue them capital, right? So they are the banks of the banks of the banks, right? You have traditional banks that you go to, central banks, and then you have the World Economic Forum on top. those are the big dogs, right? The world's elites. So imagine if these guys had that type of power across the board, where every single bank is able to shut down your transactions, shut down your movements. Now you're not able to transact and move around how you want to. So this is really happening, right? And it's kind of scary, but I mean, it's a reality. This is something you have to face. So you have to weigh your pros and your cons whenever you know that the powers that be are already working for things to materialize. Pravir, you still on?
Yeah, I'm on the call.
What's up, brother? How you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm doing. Let me
Good.
switch on my video.
Hey, thank you for joining us, man. Hey, is India a cashless society?
Yeah. We are going towards it after 2016 when the demonetization happened. Overnight, all the currency, fiat, was illegal to hold. Like you have to go to the bank. It was a big bank run. We had to go to the bank and exchange our old notes for a new note, which they didn't even print. So for a month and a half, we had to wait just to get our currency out. And
Yikes.
they put a limit per day. You can't get more than $200.
They
And
put hold on. I don't want to cut you off. You went out. You said they put a limit on what you could withdraw at $100.
yeah, what they did was they put a limit. Like let's say you are having $10,000 in your account,
Mm-hmm.
and to withdraw in new currency notes, you can only take out $200 per day. So imagine to access your account, you have to wait for to withdraw that amount at least 2 to 3 months. And when they did that, it was like wedding season in my family. I'm giving you a personal example. Organize the family function, you have to have at least 35 to $40,000 at hand, and those people were like just stranded with money in the bank, but they couldn't pay no vendor. The wedding was all doomed.
Yo, that's insane. That's
So
insane.
that was one example, but it was ours was more of an informal economy, more of a cash economy, because 70% of our population is rural population. So they live in villages and outside the main cities. So for them to sustain themselves for 2 to 3 months was a big hassle. That's why I say like even that fiat doesn't hold no value. The government took the peg against it by themselves.
Yeah,
It's
I'm having trouble hearing you, Pravir.
I'm saying the peg of the fiat was broken by the government itself, so they had no chance. So they have to stand in queues, stand in lines with 1.4 billion population. Imagine what big of a bank run it is.
So everybody, all right. So I don't know if you guys could clearly hear. And I know Pravir has a heavy accent. He's from India, right? But he's given us the vantage point of what happened from 2016 forward in India, right? They're a cashless society. Basically, the bank, there was a bank run, right? And they started controlling the currency, and they kind of mandated that you have a max limit of, per se, $100, $200 on your money, no matter what you had in your bank. You could be a millionaire, but they're telling you that you had to only pull out this certain amount, right? And then he said that there's 1.7, I think 1.7 million people is the population, and most of these people are underbanked, right? So a lot of these people live in villages, right, where they don't have direct access to go into a branch. So imagine you cutting off the pipeline of money, of liquidity, right? Going from anywhere to 1.7 or 1.4 million people. And the only way that they can get money is by coming to the branch, waiting in a queue.
I will cut you out. It's 1.4 billion, I'm saying. Billion.
1.4 billion. This is insane. So can you tell me some of the cons, right? What's some of the bad things that happen as opposed to you guys being a cashless society?
One thing was now the bank dictates the terms, how you can withdraw your money, how much money you can have, how do you transfer that money? And plus, how you were saying the KYC is backed by it. Our
Mhm.
country is the biggest one with the uh, biggest data of biometrics collected worldwide. So that is connected with the phones, our banks, our access to gas, even to register our lands. So all the revenue records are linked to it. So without that, we can't even get a bank account. So the bank can control everything.
That's crazy to have an entity, right? That has that type of power. Do you know how much what's the percentage of the money that's insured over there in India?
Yes, that also I wanted to touch base. Only in the bank, if you let's say have 100,000, only $1,250 is insured in case they go bankrupt. They
1%?
just 1,250, and recently I was checking, they increased it to 6,250. It is hardly $6,000. That's nothing.
That's crazy. That's crazy, man. I definitely appreciate that, man. Um, so guys, like, so this is India, right? So I want you guys to understand India is part of the BRICS nations. What I'm starting to see unfold, right? I've known this for years, but I'm actually seeing it now. BRICS, I'm gonna put it in the chat so you guys can see it. It's BRICS. That's Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. So what I want you guys to understand is a lot of these nations, right? They're tired of utilizing the United States dollar. So what they're doing is they're trying to circumvent the SWIFT system, right? You know, when we had this wartime situation, right? The United States stepped in and said, listen, if you go to war, Russia, if you go to war with Ukraine, what we're going to do is we're going to block you from the SWIFT network. We're going to take you off of SWIFT, right? Through sanctions. SWIFT handles all of the transactions. So this means all of the money coming in and outward, right? But how Russia was able to circumvent that was through cryptocurrency. But you had to take a step back, right? Since 2015, I came into crypto, right? My first asset that I wanted to invest in was XRP, right? That was my baby since the beginning, right? So in that research, you start to find out a lot of things because there's a lot of dot connecting that happens, right? With XRP, the payment rails, the remittances, all of that good stuff, right? So now you start to see things from a global perspective. In that global perspective, you're starting to see, okay, this this corridor, right? They call them corridors, right? It might be a country or a region in the world that is underserved. And when they say they're going to implement new payment rails or new corridors, it just basically means that there's a pipeline of money, right? That generally flows. And these are big entities, right? I told you governments are like big enterprises, big businesses, right? They're just a larger business. They handle larger volumes of money. You'll have the United States dealing with Russia, right? And they may get corn from Russia, right? Whatever it is, I'm just using this as an example, right? So that payment corridor, that payment rail is already existing. When they open a new corridor, that means that they're creating basically a branch of how money can flow directly from a big entity to a smaller entity. What's been going on behind the scenes is Ripple has been sourcing and implementing new payment rails, opening new corridors so that the people who are underserved and underbanked can now be banked. These countries, right? Each one of these countries have begun doing what's called backing their fiat currency, right? Their native currency for that country with gold and commodities, right? So, you know, we were already taken off of the gold standard in the United States. But now what countries are doing in order to give their countries monetary system added value is they were accumulating tons, hundreds and hundreds of tons of gold, and they're backing their currencies by gold. So now China was one, Russia was one of the places who did that. They just recently backed the ruble with gold, right? So this leads us to believe, and I've known this for years, right? Steve as well, he's known this for years, that Even though we were removed from the gold standard, right? Our money wasn't worth anything. But now, with them rebacking currencies by gold, it gives it more intrinsic value. The more value you give it, right? Now your currency is worth more. So you're more powerful as a nation, right? Your money stretches and goes further. Now that we're off the gold standard, the United States dollar isn't worth damn near the paper that it's printed on, right? So this is another reason why what we've been doing as a country, as a nation, we've been accumulating a ton of gold. We are going to come back to the gold standard, right? You guys can mark my words on this. We're coming back to the gold standard, right? But when we go back to the gold standard, they're already trying to move cashless. So going from a gold standard and you have a fiat currency, you lose money because you have to continuously mint and recycle currency, fiat, paper money, right? When somebody writes their phone number on a bill, after the bill is beat up, it gets wet, whatever, they start to take it out of circulation. Now, what you have to do is print more money. And I just told you they printed more money in the span of June of 2020 than they did in the last 203 years. There was a reason behind that. They were trying to literally kill off the dollar. But when they kill off the dollar, that's the global reserve currency. It's the main currency of the world. So everyone utilizes it. If you kill down your currency like that, there has to be something else in place, right? A new financial system that's being built. Something else has to emerge. When that new system emerges, it's going to be digital, cashless. That's why you guys are here. You know what I mean? I want you guys to understand, you being able to transact and everything being digital is just another way of transacting, having value for a country. The countries are still going to be able to transact, but there's going to be certain coins that allow countries to move extreme volumes of money in transactions back and forth, but to do it extremely faster, extremely cheaper. But the downfall is on our side, where are we going to get this money from? Where are we going to get these digital assets from, right? We're going to have to go to our banks, and these guys are going to have control. Steve is on the call now. I know y'all can see him. Steve, you want to rock him out? You want to say something to him?
What's good? Where Praveer jumped in already, right?
Yeah, yep. He just told us about the chaos with the cashless side of India.
Yeah, unbelievable, guys. Like, you're not even going to imagine the amount of controls that are going to be in place, right? Because now you have to figure all aspects of our daily lives is going to be on this blockchain, right? And it's going to be ran by particular individuals. Then they're going to have to follow government regulation, right? So did you mention VeChain and the supply chain?
Nope, not yet.
So you guys, I'm a big proponent of VeChain. And when you start to look at the downside to, right, because anything with a great upside is going to have probably just as great of a downside. So I've given these examples in the past before. Let's just say you have the vehicle, right? So VeChain's working with BMW right now. They'll probably work with every major car brand. And so you have to figure, if the car has the ability to give us the data on the car as buyers to know, if the car's ever been in an accident, how fast the car has been driven, if there's ever been any original parts that left the vehicle. Now, just think about the downside to that. Once the insurance companies start to be regulated within the blockchain, because they do it now, right? There's a reward system for if you've never been in an accident, right? In a certain amount of years, you can have certain incentives. And I want to say Rhode Island is one of the states also that has an incentive to it could monitor certain vehicles and the speed that they go. So if you stay under the speed limits or at the average, you get some type of bonus, cash back or something like on your insurance policy. So that's the upside to it. So what happens if you start to speed, right? That's the opposite effect of it. You're going to pay for it. So then, do we not think that the cities and municipalities are going to get in on the speeding tickets, right? So now there's no more due process. You don't need a judge to tell you that you were speeding, because the same way that the cameras catch you, then you can go try to fight it in court, but the photo is there. You'll just be wasting your time. So now just imagine everything just comes to your phone and your app to say, hey, champ, you went 80 miles an hour. Here's your ticket. Then you get a notice from your insurance company. Here's your infraction. So this is a small part to this social credit system, right? So how are you moving in society? How are you moving on the internet? So I need you guys to take that piece of information, because I could be here all day giving you guys examples, but let's start to think now. So when you look at the products, the same way that we're training you guys to look at the case use and how to see if there's a good company, start looking at the downside to some of these projects. And I could almost guarantee you, because of government intervention, right? Because we want this, right? But we don't want all the smoke from them. But once they're in, that's it. So how do you guys feel about having to be responsible drivers, or you're gonna have to pay for it? Now, here's the next thing. You don't pay your car note on time. What do you think the finance company is gonna have the ability to do? Think about it. They're gonna rewrite all these laws because the technology is gonna allow them to, have a kill switch on your car to say, hey, this is done, right? Until you pay me.
Crazy.
That's another one. And guys, you can't think the technology is not here, because anybody that has a DUI, they implement, they're starting to put devices in vehicles. They've been doing that, where you have a breathalyzer that really starts the car.
Mm-hmm.
So this type of stuff is here. I'm just telling you that it's going to get more and more invasive, right? So how do we counteract that? Get your crypto bag up, get your wealth, and get yourself a driver. Show the fuck out. That's one option. I'm just telling you that we're going to be playing in a realm that we won't necessarily know the full effects until, 15, 20, 30 years from now. Yeah, would it make people more responsible? But, it's arbitrary when there's certain sectors of people still controlling people, right? So imagine what they're going to do inside the hood. So if anybody saw that documentary, was the 13 on Netflix?
Yeah.
With the jail system and everything. If you go towards the end of that documentary and you watch, I forget where the gentleman, what organization he was with, but he was on the jail side of things. And he just said it so calmly. He was like, oh, no problem. We can shut down all the jails. No problem. And I'm like, yo, people aren't reading through this. When they tell you no problem, so what's the second part to this that no one's thinking about? So at this point now, you're just property of a state. Yeah, they're gonna allow you to roam free. They're gonna even allow you to go to work, but you're gonna play between a particular parameter, right? They'll actually have more. It'll be more beneficial to them monetarily, because how much would, if you caught a case right now, how much would you pay to be able to stay home and go to work and not have to be locked up, or and be home by 8 or 9? I'd give it all up. You understand? So you guys, you have to start looking at the downside to this to understand and start to position yourself, at least educate yourself on it. And then when it starts to come, you've prepared yourself for it, and you know how to make that adjustment. My thing is, let's follow the speed limit at this point, right? The car is going to tell a story. I'm not a fan of it, but I'm going to hold such a V-chain. I have a big V-chain bag right now. So, hopefully V-chain pays us enough on the return that can allow us to just, kind of chill out a little bit. And I'm more so worried about like people who don't know better, right? Because I still, I drive, I follow the speed limit. I'm not into the craziness, but I do see guys still, still doing the most out here. Yeah, the India situation, I don't know if he brought up, they only insure, was it Prevail, 1% of your money inside of your bank is insured. Yep. I mean, just think about that, guys. At that point, that paper is deemed worthless. Nobody even wants to insure it.
Shit is crazy.
Did we drop the links to social credit system information for India?
No, I'm about to.
Yeah, we're gonna start dropping some links in Discord. We'll even create a channel just around this topic, so that way, as everyone starts to dig into it, we can share information the same way we do with the economy. Because I believe this is just as important. Because if you figure 4% of the world's population is involved in crypto right now, and we're the only group that's talking about this, there is no other group out here that's talking about the downside to it. people are just now trying to figure out if it's going to be around.
I'm gonna drop it. I'm gonna drop it in. Is there a certain chat you wanted it to go in?
No, you can just drop it in here and give it to the group that logged on.
Gotcha.
We'll create a chat specifically for the downside to crypto, and we'll start to share news and communicate within there.
I'm about to drop it for y'all now, just so y'all have some resources. But even as this backdrop here, like you can see, there's already cashless societies in countries right now. Finland, Sweden, China are the main ones. India as well. It's like, you think about that. When things are happening around the world, you know they're always going to trickle to the United States. It doesn't matter what's going on, especially England, right? There's a certain relationship, right? I'm not going to get into that because we'll be here for a long time trying to dot connect and catch you guys up to speed. But for anybody who formally knows, anytime something happens in the UK or Great Britain, it happens to the United States. The United States is essentially owned by Great Britain, right? So when things happen in that demographic, right, or in that region, it always trickles down. So when you have bank runs, you have illiquidity, anything, any of those problems, they always come to the States, right? So I want you guys to start thinking that and start looking outside of the United States. So when things start to happen globally, you know that they're transitioning to you, right? It may not be tomorrow, may not be next week, but it's happening, right? One of the main things was, I think they were doing some kind of they were doing negative interest rates, right? So when negative interest rates hit the UK, hit Great Britain, they hit I believe it was Japan or China. It hit another country first. Then it started to trickle to the United States. And what was happening was basically whenever everybody here who has a bank account, when you created your bank account, it told you that you have the ability to, where you relinquished it to the bank to where these guys can come in. And if you have, let's say it's negative 1%, right? When you created your account, no matter what's in it, they can legally go into your bank account and take out a certain amount of money. And there's nothing you could do about it. And most people didn't even know that, right? So this is why the world was in an uproar. But this happened in 2019, 2020, right? So when it started to happen here, instantly people started taking their money out of banks, right? There was a big craze with banks and they were losing so many people, which is why you start to see now that there's certain banks that were doing nefarious things, right? Trying to limit certain customers from opening accounts, or they wanted to give certain privileges to certain people, right? Certain skin colors. Or it was a lot of stuff that was happening, right? But all of this stemmed from, it was basically a reaction, because they knew once the people started to find out the stuff that's going on in this banking system, in this world system, when we're dealing with fiat, it's so easy to manipulate, right? And you're causing people problems. So now these countries are trying to go cashless to where it's all digital, right? Everything just looks like numbers on a screen, numbers on a board. It's that much easier for you to just look at something and say, okay, everything's fine, my money's there, right? But in the background, these guys are transacting, making hundreds of millions and billions of dollars off your money, right? And then they inconvenience you by being able to take from you and not give to you. So this is, you guys definitely got to start seeing how these things play out and start making money and situating yourself to kind of be out of the way, right? We don't know, we're not going to know all of the the bad side to it, right? But just know anytime that there's a good, it's always a double-edged sword. There's always some kind of bad to it. That's the whole thing about yin and yang. It's always a good, it's always a negative, it's always a bad, right? So you guys got to know how to play this game.
And listen, so there's an upside to all of this too, right? Because now you're going to start to see, probably, if I had to guess, autonomous vehicles, right? There's always going to be an Elon Musk guy who's just going to, because that's there's a consumer base for that, right? To come out with a vehicle that's not going to be hooked up to the system. Whole new market share at this point, right? So you will have options as long as people are willing to accept a particular new product in the industry. Then I think there'll be a huge market share for any vehicle company that wants to set up autonomous. We don't want to be on the blockchain. We want to respect people's right to do what they want as they please, because you still should have the system we have in place here. But if I had to guess, they're not. I mean, you see it with the cameras now. These guys aren't pulling you over with speed guns anymore. So there's going to be a rise in a lot of new industries within industries that we're accustomed to. So we have to start looking at those particular, that particular segment, and those could be, early investors. And you got to think with all these cars, these electric cars don't even have moving parts anymore. So it doesn't really take much outside of battery technology, to create a vehicle. So at what point in our lifetime are we going to see a black-owned car company? If there's any time to start one, it'd be autonomous. To be like, yo, listen, we're not with that. So if you want to write, you want to buy a car that's not going to mail you a ticket, and you may not even have the option for the ticket to even get to you. It may just come out of your account. That's their keys. Because it's their keys now, like Champ said. Open up some Q&A.
So before we go into Q&A, one thing Steve told me that was like valuable info, right? So imagine, so we all know this is fucked up, right? For lack of better words, this is crazy. But like he said, we're showing you guys how to invest and analyze in certain projects. Once you invest in them, what do? First things first, store them, right? You properly store them and secure them. Steve told me today, he's like, yo, listen, you know that there's one key point that we always have to keep in mind. No matter what you're investing in and you store, right? You own the private keys to it. So whatever you put on your cold storage wallet, nobody else can access. If there was ever something like an instance where, let's say Ledger goes out of business, right? You would still be able to access your coins on another cold storage device as long as the coin was compatible with that cold storage, right? So as long as you have the private key, you're still able to transact and move. So I know that was one of my main questions in all of this. Is like, yo, what do we do if we ended up having to buy coins straight from the bank, right? Well, now that you have them and we showed you guys how to store them, hey, it should click. Your private keys are interchangeable. You can use them on another cold storage device. So as long as that coin is supported on another cold storage, let's say Ledger and Decent, right? And you had VeChain, let's say it was supported on both. You could literally put and something happens to your Ledger goes out of business, you could put that same private key from your Ledger device into your Decent wallet and transfer all of your coins directly over. You're gonna see them right on it. So I said that's dope, and that's one of those things where that's the pro to this, right? It's not, you're not just always limited, right? And this is the thinking that has to be done outside of the box, because I didn't even know that, right? And I've been in this space long as hell. I'm a vet, but I'm still a student of the game, right? And there's going to be more innovations that happen that you got to be able to kind of grasp, understand, and then move accordingly, right?
Yeah, so listen, just take notes. When the cold storage companies start to ask you for KYC, start looking for another company that's not asking for KYC. Sidestep that as much as possible. And that's where it's going to get interesting, because it's like, how are the banks, if they are going to be holding this crypto, what regulations are going to be tied to what you can do with that? Because you can't even walk around with $10,000 in your pocket without having interest. How? So that's the part I don't even know the answer to that. But again, we're just here to bring early information to the forefront, to start, to help you guys look at things differently. Let's not focus on that XRP bag, H-bar, and that's done. Lock it away. Dollar cost averaging, keep buying them. We got one more Black Swan event coming up, and after that, it's off to the races. But you have to understand too, Champ and I were talking about this the other day. He was like, I don't see it in 2025. I said, nah, you're going to see it Because you figure if regulations are coming out, and what's gonna take 3 years for it to really iron out? And I said, listen, it's gonna be a financial revolution in the world, and it's happening now. Right? So all of a sudden you have these African countries that are finding all this gold after all these years of existence. That's not by accident, guys. We're going to the gold standard. It's just that you can't show your hand, especially to the United States, when you got that much gold, because they're just gonna make up something and evade. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And that was Barack Obama's mandate when he was in office. He was the first American sitting president that could penetrate Africa. Why? Because he looked the part. So now you have a lot of African countries, and we'll start to put this stuff up too, where you see a lot of countries are fighting for the natural resources, right? They're fighting against each other. They've been doing this, but now it's on 10, right? So if you figure right before the world's going to reset, you want to control as much of natural resources in your country as possible. These guys are killing themselves over this because they just want to stake ownership in it, right? Because you got to figure every computer part, every type of piece of technology or natural resource that's needed to fuel technology is in the continent of Africa. So that's what's going to take the 3 years to really get everybody in the same system now. Because now at this point, it's not the petrodollar. The United States can't flex their muscle like they were accustomed to flexing. Over time, these people are using the gold standard now. So it's like, all right, so where's the power now? Right? Biden's headed over to where? Saudi?
Mm-hmm.
He's not even really invited. The guys won't even take his phone call.
Yeah.
It's different, guys. Like, start following these world leaders. These guys are coming younger. We're the only country that's a nation outside of like, president for life type stuff in Russia and China. But if you look at every other world leader in the last maybe 2 election cycles, these guys are averaging like 35 years old now. Right? So it's a different leader coming to power. And as they're getting younger, we're getting older. Like, who's voting in 80-year-old presidents, man? That shit is just dumb.
It's outdated. It's over for that.
So, there was talk to say, like, the crypto industry could pose as, the next political party. Which is the proper way to do things, because you're just looking at things for the people that vote you in and not so much for the powers to be. But I'm telling you guys, it's going to be 3 years of financial war out here. Every country within the country, there's going to be infighting in every country. So how are things going to, how are things going to be borderless when people are going to be like, nah, we're good? And then how much natural resources does America really have if people start to cut us off? What do we produce? Crazy. You see what I'm saying? That's why that's why expansion was created. That's why we invade countries. Anytime there's a threat to anything, we create a problem, right? And then they're like, yeah, these guys knocked down the towers. Saudi really just got back their land from the United States. You start looking at the history of things. So now go figure, when that deal is over and now these guys are able to flex the muscle, how? When the United States at one time owned this particular nation and all the oil within. The tables are turning now, guys. You know what I'm saying?
Yo, so listen, Steve just gave y'all a super gem, right? He told y'all how the United States, right, will invade. They'll create certain situations and invade certain countries, right? There's always a reason behind it, right? 1, because I know firsthand. 2, show y'all something, right? I just came across this today. Peep this. Leaked Hillary emails reveal NATO killed Gaddafi to stop the formation of the United States of Africa, right? Look at this shit. So basically 3,000 emails released from Clinton's server in 15. People had their eyes all over it, right? One of the emails dated April 2nd, 2011, Gaddafi's government holds 143 tons of gold and similar amounts in silver. The gold was accumulated prior to the current rebellion and was intended to be used to establish a Pan-African currency based on the Libyan golden dinar. Guys, Steve just literally told y'all there's always a reason why these guys they go into countries and they infiltrate, right? Because they want natural resources. The reason behind it is because the profitability behind it. If you're able to get natural resources and make tons and tons of money, right, off of it, all you got to do is basically invade something and come get it. 143 tons of gold. Come on, man. Think about what implications that would have had on the world economic system if Africa was able to pull that off. Gaddafi was able to pull that off. Come
and
on.
they were connecting with Saddam. There was a lot of guys jumping on board with that.
That's
right.
Great.
And let's keep it cultural, guys, right? When you think about the meeting between Jay Prince, Suge Knight, and who's the third person in that meeting? Jay Prince, Suge Knight. God, there was a third person in hip hop, CEO. They were all going to band together, right, to move everything off the majors. After their very first meeting, when the talks came out, every single one of those guys caught a charge. Every single one of those guys caught a federal charge. They wiped them straight out. You know, froze their accounts. You know, put the major pressure on them at that point. And that stopped that hip hop coalition that was supposed to be formed. This is why it's going to take 3 years to iron this shit out, because there's going to be a because you got to think we as people have a lot of power with the blockchain if we know how to utilize it, right? But every government's not going to allow decentralization. You know, these countries don't even have that sort of access to decentralization. So another thing that we have to start looking into now is we'll give you some projects, and VeChain's one of them. Start looking at the projects that are accepted in China. Just think about the market share that those guys have. That's why I believe VeChain is going to be huge. You know, it has world implication, not just a United States situation, because all that metaverse shit is not going to work in a lot of countries. Mm-hmm. You know, the music streaming stuff is not going to work in other countries. Like, you know, and people fail to realize, like, there is no Google in China. There is no Facebook.
Right.
Right. So when they try to hit you with this news, you know, this news cycle talking about, oh, China banned this, China banned that, everything is banned. Like, what are you guys talking about? We got to go out there with VPNs just to get around certain things. So it's nothing new. Just start to research, like anything that you guys hear in the news cycle, just think the opposite of it, and then just figure it out, and you'll find that, you know, they're not here to really help you at the end of the day. And they're gonna gaslight the hell out of this shit. We told you already that the lawsuits are coming. XRP is gonna win that lawsuit, but they're not gonna say anything about it because they're gonna parade about 100 other companies in, and influencers. So some of your favorite guys are gonna go to jail. Well, I wouldn't say jail, but they're gonna pay some heavy fines. The party's over. They need that money back, right? The money that was printed never came back into the economy. That's where they're hell bent on trying to figure out, like, where this shit is at. People put the shit in knowledge. Oh man, big brother, man, I'm telling you, it's going to be like no other. Technology is getting smarter, and the problem is we don't have any representation on the tech side of things. So there's a whole industry open for African American tech guys to create products for African Americans, right? So the next trillionaires could be formed overnight, just in the tech space. And if you're not in tech, there is nothing for you. Universal basic income. You're either involved in tech or universal basic income. And when I say involved in tech, meaning if you don't put a technology component behind your company, and the same thing happened in the pandemic, all these mom and pop stores, they couldn't pivot. They barely have credit card machines in the hood. So how are they going to set up, you know, how are they going to navigate deliveries and things like that? Websites. How many of the Caribbean places we had in Brooklyn that have websites? Absolute none. They don't even take control of their Google listing to update their phone numbers.
Straight up.
You know, every time I go to a Haitian restaurant, which is far and slim, they don't even know how to use the credit card machine. I'm the one saying, yo, just here, press that. They couldn't reprint a receipt for me. Or I'm forced to use an ATM machine because of their inability to do what? So you don't pay taxes? It's like, yo, we're already paying the taxes on the food. All you got to do is transfer the money over to the government. We got to get our shit together, man. I'm telling you that shit now. And this is why they say that we won't have any wealth by 2050, because they're going to be able to fucking press a button and just lock you up at this point. So keep playing, because what we're doing is when the crypto bag comes in, we're going to put it in tangible assets. So as everybody's running to digital, you guys are leaving it wide open for these guys to buy up all the, all the farmland in America right now. Come on, guys. There's no reason why we can't own a piece of land. I'm picking up land in Detroit for a couple $100. You just sit on it. You pay what, $100 in taxes a year. A grass guy, he come through, he cuts the shit in the summertime. You might spend, I don't know, $200-300 to maintain that thing. I'm not liking this shit at all, because we teach this all day. And the amount of people that just won't even get it's too much for me to learn. And like Champ said, you're going to have the cold storage. You're going to have the wallet, digital wallet, no matter what you say. That's like when they put out direct deposit, what you're going to say, oh, that's too difficult. No, it makes life easier. So if you're going to want that universal basic income, you better get that wallet.
Hello.
And if you want your money to hit your account, you better take that whatever shot they selling you. And you might get bonuses for eating fake meat. Yeah, I'm telling you, man, this is, the food shortage and all that. This is not like by mistake. This is all by design. This
is definitely engineered.
Yeah, the gas prices don't have to be this way. The problem is people are sitting home. So they got to get people back out there, get the workforce back in, because now they're talking about, oh, there could never be a 5-day work week again. But it's like, you can't even get guys to come in 1 day a week. So how do you do it? You flush them out the house. You make the cost of living go up. You make the job scarce. And then what are people going to do? Because if anybody feels like they're going to be laid off of their job, they're going to go back to work. Because there's no unemployment for not opting to go back to work. So that's going to be the next wave of what's going to happen, right? So when they tried the vaccine situation to get people to just take that and comply, people lost their jobs. So when they want the workforce to go back to work, look at Elon Musk. As progressive as you think he is, he wants everybody at Tesla to go back to work. And they're firing people. And he's becoming a huge distraction. And he's going to lose a ton of market share because of the way he likes to grandstand. They're gonna flex their muscle on a guy like that. He's gonna be paraded around America. I don't care what innovation he tries to do. When a guy like him in the position he's in is discussing who's gonna take over his company if he gets assassinated. Kidding me? Ain't no amount of money worth that shit.
Straight up.
He's getting too big for his britches. And this is why he's not a topic of discussion for a lot of people. He's that guy. He's that guy that you don't want to stand next to. And I'm not saying, I don't want anything to happen to anybody, but I'm just telling you guys that there is opportunity for us to build Black products for Black people. And that's the type of time I'm on right now. So we giving y'all the basics, but Champ and I can't sit in this basic seat for too much longer.
It's go time.
Yeah. We just, at this point, we're going to automate that boot camp. For those who get it. And for the ones who don't, we ride with the 1% situation. But the 1% is not just about picking companies. It's about actually developing companies now. Right? Because stuff's out here. Celsius, all these guys are for sale right now. Go look at everybody that's bailing these companies out. They knew exactly what was going to happen. They just needed the technology. These guys that were creating the products never did business before, right? So they don't know what it's like to do things the right way formally in an economy with no checks and balances. Because if you didn't give banks checks and balances, they would probably close down and burn shit up too.
Straight up.
You need a little bit of consumer protection. It's going to be 3 years of financial warfare. Mark my words on that. They're going to come fucking with your money.
And listen, just so y'all understand, we don't always just agree just to agree, right? We had this conversation. Me and Steve. Steve said, yo, it's going to be 3 years before such and such happens, right? Now, me knowing a certain timeline, Steve knowing the same timeline as well, we know what's to come, right? 2025 is going to be one of those crazy years. There's a lot happening, right? And there's a lot that's forecasted for that year financially, right? So there's going to be a giant shift between now and then. But I'm just looking at the current state of things, and I don't feel like it's going to be a full 3 years. But what Steve told me made complete sense. It's like you having global financial wars, right? And it's happening. It's already unfolding right now. 90% of this stuff that's going on is happening because of financial war, right? We're playing this chess game with different countries, right? Now you're starting to see countries uncover crazy amounts of gold or precious resources, right? And it moves up their status in the ranking of countries, right? But I'm just thinking to myself, I'm like, yo, the world is so fucked up right now. I honestly don't feel like it's going to take 3 years, right? And I could be very wrong. That's just my sentiment, right? But it's crazy how between now and the next 3 years are going to be super important for everybody, right? No matter what you do, you have to basically put your foot to the gas and go. Everything has to be strategic from here forward, right? You can't necessarily play, because the moment you miss that is the moment they victimize you, right? And they're gonna capitalize off your misstep in every single way, right? Financially, your investments, anything that you try to get into, this is the time. That's why the main sentiment is do not get shaken out, right? So in crypto, you hear, once you start investing, we're not taking the money out to go fucking buy McDonald's for, you know what I mean, for the office, right? You know what I mean, an office party, or buying balloons and cakes and just nonsense like that. It's like, yo, invest in this stuff, make the necessary sacrifices, because now you know once these projects and protocols that you invest in, once they appreciate, right, they're gonna catapult you to a whole nother stratosphere financially, right? Then that's when you're able to do even more, right? We're showing you now, Steve's showing you the real estate side. Now you guys could take crypto, move it out of crypto into real world assets, right? And then even on the back end, those real world assets are still getting tokenized going back on the blockchain, right? So it's dope how you can have a physical property, right? And it still be able to make you money on the blockchain side, right? Or when it's tokenized. And then there's certain things that you can transact, and you can own things and be able to move them on the blockchain, right? But you still have real world assets, and you got them using this vehicle of crypto, right? That's why I say y'all have to tune in. When I noticed in the chat, when Steve dropped something, I'm not seeing no reactions, right? I'm not seeing no chatter, no talk. Listen, guys, even if you don't fully understand it, say something, right? Acknowledge it, so we at least know that y'all paying attention, because we're going to keep dropping, but we're not going to have the time to hold everybody's hand as this process is unfolding. Steve is giving y'all super, super blessings, and me, myself included, right? This is no gimmick. I'm a student of the real estate side. That's his wheelhouse. And even I'm in you guys' position. I'm learning as you learn, right? I just got a different seat. This is my business partner. This is my man, right? So I just got a different seat, but I'm still in the classroom with y'all. So y'all have to acknowledge this stuff, because this is important, right? Right now, this is when it counts the most.
So listen, so here's the thing, guys. So like he said, I pushed off on the real estate side, so Champ's taking the lead, right? So I told Champ gloves are off. So here's the thing. We wanted to kind of, because we still have time, right? We know that this Black Swan event is coming. Shit, the gas prices are coming down. Just watch how they make this shit look so sweet. They're going to pull the rug out before the end of the year. They have to get through holiday cycle, right? There's a lot of inventory sitting out here. So they're going to make shit seem rosy. You know what I'm saying? So we just decided to just say, you know what? Most people don't want to do the research, which is fair, right? And if you want to do the research, then we have a product that's going to give you our top holdings and the 1% that's going to make it. Not the full 1%, but the top of the 1%. We have every receipt. We laid out. It's probably going to take, we can't do it in one Zoom. So it's probably going to be like a 3 or 4-part series, right? Champ's going to open it up with the XRP talk, to connect the dots, to give you guys the journey of how it got to this point. The story behind Bitcoin and Ethereum, the story behind the SEC under Trump's administration and what they did and what they're currently doing now. So once you get that story in an easy to digest way, because there's still people that are like, they're confused. And I know for a fact, there's still people that just want to kind of just, they hit me in the background like, Steve, just give it to us. So I told Champ, listen, just go ahead and give it to them. It's going to be in a package though. For those who want to pay, you pay. For those who don't, then you got to sit there and you got to consume this information, study it. Champ and I already did it. We broke it down, right? It's going to be the final piece of the puzzle. So for anybody that is interested in it, just hit us in Discord. We're putting the final touches on it today. It's a 4-part series, and every part you're going to get a particular amount of coins that we're going to talk about, and those are going to be the long-term spot holds. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. Y'all don't have to go no more further. And I'm not saying that the industry's not going to evolve, but the players that are going to be the main players are all in here right now. There is nobody that's going to come out from the grave that's going to be a front runner in this game. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're not talking about, hey, they might be a 3rd grader waiting to get to high school to graduate, but that's years down the line.
Mhm.
But the players are here, and we've already given you guys HBAR will replace. It will be one of the top blockchains, period.
Straight up.
XRP, we gave you the Bohemian, because when we used to talk XRP before, everybody's, oh, no, they're in a lawsuit. That's the first thing you see. Guys, there's 4 Ds that you have to understand in the way that this government and just the powers to be operate, right? So the 4 Ds are distract, discredit, dismiss, and destroy, right? So when you start to look at certain things, look at the 4 Ds in that exact order. And when it gets to the point of destroy, just know that shit is over. You know what I'm saying? So right now there's distractions going on. The destroying part is what's happening to these DeFi products now. They're being bought out by Wall Street. Wall Street knew the technology behind it. They funded it. They funded their demise, guys. We knew this for a while, you know? But when you're starting a university, you have to be really careful with how you give the information. Because Champ and I have time in the market. Spence, he has time in the market. We could have good conversation. But Champ and I used to give this information for free, and nobody that we gave it to has done anything with the information.
Facts.
So you have to pay attention. That's going to be the final offering in the sense of like, what are the long-term spots? And at that point, you're in the 1% group, and then there's more, right? Because we have what's the most that we're giving them on that one? It's like 10, if
10.
that?
Yeah, 10.
Yeah, it's 10 in total. Some of them you already have. I'm just telling you that the rest of them come with a story. Now, the importance, some of them you probably already heard of, but you don't know how to connect the dots. So what we're going to do is we're going to connect the dots. Once you get the full story with the dot connecting, that's what you're paying for, right? Because nobody's sitting out there explaining it to you, because everybody could throw out XRP, but they can't tell you exactly what it does. Yeah, James. Yeah, I mean, but listen, so you have to be careful too. So a lot of these guys, and I tell Champ this all the time, I'm not so in love with XRP that I'm just totally stuck on it. I used to be. The lawsuit actually helped me out because it helped me expand my palette.
Mhm.
You know, Champ will tell you, Champ, how many projects were you looking at back in 15?
4.
I was not studying what it was. You know what I'm saying? And it wasn't anywhere near where it's at now. So we're just telling you guys that there's a story, and when it's put together well, it's a movie, and it gives you the full scope of it, right? And then what do you think the value of that would be if I told you that if you put $100 behind all 10 of those coins, you know, the possibilities of you becoming a multi-millionaire. And I'm not talking about 5 or 10 times over. Where's the true value in that? All right, we good. If y'all want a quick Q&A, you know, we can get that done. But, you know, at this point, you know, because I'm on the real estate tip and Champ's over here, you know, steering this ship, I'm like, Champ, just get the 1% group together. The people that are serious, let's just start separating it, because we're spending too much time on like, I mean, guys, it's if anybody's been in that boot camp, it's not an easy thing to put together. Like we really pour it all out in boot camp. But the boot camp is really just that. It's just a boot camp, right? Champ went through that, but it's, you know, when you're in Afghanistan, that's not a boot camp at that point. That's live.
Right.
So we're just telling you, we got the live situation for y'all. This shit is a movie. Just to tune into it. You know what I'm saying? Just to tune into it in itself. We can shoot a movie. And then, like he says, you see the guy, Jamie Dimon, you'll start to see the names. And then once you start to research the names, now you follow the news cycle around what those guys are saying. But you'll have the truth, you know, you'll have the real story from Champ and I. You got to be careful with these guys. They telling you 50,000 buyback. He's doubling down. First it was 30, 34. Now it's 50. It could be 500 million, but this guy probably has the biggest XRP bag.
Right. You don't know.
Shit, yeah, I want 50,000 too of XRP. No problem. And listen, if there's ever a buyback, guys, sell that shit to the government or whoever's buying it.
Straight up, especially for them numbers.
Because they're going to take it. They're going to take it. And go research gold and let me know if you were able to hold gold in your home. And see what happened to people that held gold bars in their home in a particular era when things were changing. History repeats itself. And the issue with us is we don't know anything past yesterday or past tomorrow. Because we living for today. And this ain't a dig at anybody, because I sometimes I live the same way. When you just barely making it and you got to scrape things together. We're just telling you the investments that you make today in crypto, it may not make sense today, but trust me, when this shit hits, you just want to be in position. You don't want to be that guy to be like, oh shit, yo, I did it. I did it with Bitcoin. You know, I saw it at a couple $100. I just couldn't wrap my head around it. Plus, I never liked the case used for it.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, it just missed it. But I'm telling you, that 8,000 retrace, I'm on. Because they're going to run that bag up again. Ethereum, I'm out.
It's a dub.
I'm out on that. That's our opinion. The shit is trash. The shit trash. All right, I think we gave it to y'all. So listen, next week, Champs is going to start releasing the situation. We'll probably start session 1 probably in August. I just didn't want it to like really cross with the real estate situation. But this story is probably going to be a weekend situation. So y'all need to set aside, you know, a Sunday morning, you know, before you start to attack the world, to really sit and grab your paper and pen, because there is no replay on that. No replays, guys. We are not recording. Yeah, it's one of those. You had to be there. And we damn near want to do this shit in person, right? To make sure that there's no recording devices. And not to like for it to be distributed everywhere. It's just this is the time that you have to pay the fucking attention. Because all that stuff that we find, all the stuff there, and it's only my man Kev that's dialing in, you know, adding more and pouring in and paying attention, guys. You're gonna kind of see it when it gets to 2025. You're gonna miss at least 6 or 7 things that we gave you. So I don't know what other channels y'all paying attention to, but if there's another Discord channel out here that's rocking with some information, give me it, because I'm like Cam said, I'm still a student in crypto. And I have to dig back into like my long-term holds to see how much heavier I want to go on my positions at the end of the day, because things are changing. I still believe in them, but like HBAR's technology is like, it in just the last 2 months, the stuff that I'm reading now behind it is just like, oh shit, where's it going? Start looking at the players behind those names. I mean, behind those projects. Yo, Ray Charles could see this shit coming, man. I need to wake the fuck up.
Straight up.
And we got a new wave of students coming in too. We got some heavy groups that we're a part of, and there's about to be a fresh new blood in here. And the good thing I like about the new training group is you guys are being taught properly, right? So we don't really need to hold your hand at the end of the day. But even that is going to be on an automated situation where we're just going to pre-record it, and it's going to be at your leisure to get through the 4 sessions. But the most important thing inside of that day 1 and then the day 3, where Champ is day 1, health and mindset, and then day 3, Champ showing you how to read projects. And it's important for you to know it, because even if you listen to us And it's like, oh, okay, go invest in H bars. A ton of you just doing what the hell we telling y'all to do. But then y'all not, we're also teaching you to question everybody. How come nobody's questioning us? Y'all trust us that much? Because I got a bridge in Brooklyn for you. We would never do that to y'all, but I'm just telling you that we want to train y'all. And if we're telling you to question everybody and everything, then that includes us.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If I say something that doesn't make sense, yo, correct me, teach me something, learn me something. Man, Champ and I, we were going back and forth with the whole Bitcoin thing. We don't really see eye to eye on it. And it's not there for us to see eye to eye on it, but I'm slowly starting to see what he was seeing. And the same thing with the, you know, with the proof of work.
Mm-hmm.
I was a big Ethereum guy, and he opened my eyes to a lot. He was following the cycle. I fell off the cycle because I'm in another sector. So we just trying to really empower y'all, man. I don't care if there's 10 guys in here. Let's just get in. Let's just do the work. Let's nerd out. Nerds actually make the most money in the world. So if y'all about financial independence, you got to be smart. Because the dumb shit is destructive, and I'm not with it. I just saw an article the other day, and I'm starting to see it now, right? So think about it. All our biggest hip hop guys and influencers are endorsing two things, and this is the exact two things that make money in recessions and downturns: gambling and liquor. And go look at your biggest artists, Drake. Go look at all the biggest artists right now, Kevin Hart. Go look at all of these guys and tell me either they're endorsing liquor or they're endorsing gaming.
Straight up.
And if we're entering the worst possible economic times of our lives, why the fuck would those guys be endorsing those products? Those are your leaders y'all following. We should be getting paid $50,000 a show, straight up. With this sort of information right here. All right, good. Keep drinking and keep gambling. And the DeFi, I mean, the crypto market was a big gamble for us, but Champ and I took the most hits of this situation. We lost hundreds of thousands to save y'all from the, and I'm glad it just bottomed out, because now it's like people still asking us, yo, can we stake? And I'm like, stake what? Eat a steak? You don't bring out a steak fucking with these guys.
Straight up. Bugging.
I'm not staking shit. I don't care
Straight
what
up.
you're giving me in return for that, man. And listen, if nobody has a ledger right now and you need somebody to hold something for you, Champ and I have no problem creating a sub account and just holding coins for you until you get it back.
Straight up.
So if anybody's still waiting on their cold storage and they want to get it off and they feeling a little bit nervous, yo, just send us shit. Just hit us in the background. I don't care who you send it to. When you look at Ledger, you can create mad sub accounts. So my XRP has 3 sub accounts in Ledger, and I got it on different things too, but I can create one that says, you know, Eli Wolf XRP, and then we'll know what the transaction is and when you sent it.
Yep.
And you could trust us with that.
Straight up. I don't play. I told you I don't play them type of games, but this is the time. What he's saying to y'all is this is the time to protect yourself, because not only are we in the hot seat, it's so much shit going on in this space, and there's about to be so much more going on. I want to tell y'all something so bad, but I'm on ice. I'm chilling. Some news, like when I say like literally just came out right now, and this is even more reason for you to one right now go even harder and tuck this shit away. But I'm chilling. Y'all go see. Crazy. Steve about to find out as soon as we get off this call.
Oh man, I don't even know. The camp's on Hinge right now. I don't know if y'all watching his videos. Y'all need to pay attention, because that's my news cycle now. Look at my man Rodney. Yep, exactly. Rodney's gonna have his own private island, and he's sending yachts to come pick us up. That's the talk I'm talking about, man. I'm telling you guys, there's gonna be a lot of new wealth created. Go back to the tech boom. Go see how many millionaires were made during that time. People that worked in the cafeterias were multimillionaires off of shares that were given to them, because these tech companies couldn't pay the workers. This happened already. This movie played out already, guys. Barbara, you good?
Yes, can you hear me?
I'm making sure you up.
Yes, I'm up. Just finished streaming our church service now.
Okay, praise the Lord. There we go.
That's what I'm
Praying
talking
for
about.
us. You put a prayer out for us today.
Yes, all the time. All of my business associates, friends, everyone. We just go in for it. We go in.
That's what
And
I'm
guys,
talking about.
this is my barber. You mind sharing your age with the group?
79.
Listen to
Come
me,
on.
guys. If there's ever a don't give up on life, right? Barbara's not
That's
only
right.
consuming crypto information, but she's also consuming real estate information
That's
for
right.
her to leave behind a legacy at 79, guys.
That's right. And I talked to my grandson today. I told him this the deal. This what we're gonna do. Yep.
I
Come
love
on.
it. I love it, man.
Right.
Barbara, you fuel me a lot with that because I have parents who just either disabled or I'm using you as a you give me a lot of energy when I see all these.
Aw. Thank you so much.
It's
It
not- learning curve's
encourages
not
me
easy.
too. It's not, but it's a joy and a pleasure. And I thank God that I am fit mentally, physically, and able to do it because he's not finished yet. He's not finished with us as a people yet. And he wants us all to leave a legacy for our prosperity.
That's what
And
I'm saying.
age makes no difference. If he empower you to do it, go for it.
I'm done.
Yeah.
Mic drop after that, champ. I think we're good on this one. Barbara, I
Mic drop.
appreciate you.
Yeah, that's why I be late on Wednesday because we stream from church. So I
It's
help
all